Welcome to Thru the Ringer. I'm your host, Tate Frazier. We got a very fun show today, and joining us, as always, Cousin Sal. He's not in the building, but he's right here in front of me. Sal, good to see you, man. How are you on this beautiful Wednesday?
Not in the building. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. I wish we could just keep talking as we were right before the show about the rehearsal for 28 minutes. Would FanDuel TV like that? I don't know if they.
I think
really
HBO or Max or whatever they're calling themselves these days, Discovery, they might like it. But we can have that conversation any day you want, Sal. It's the best. But first and foremost, you know what we got to do. We got to play my favorite game. I read you the many insane statements that are in my mind, and you tell me if it's an over, under, or a proper reaction. And we'll start here. SGA, as we like to call him, or Gilgeous for some of the people that like to call him by his full name. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will score 30 or more points in every NBA Finals game. Sal, what say you? Over or under reaction?
Well, what say I is that I'm glad we decided to refer to him as SGA going forward, because saying Gilgeous is really, really annoying. And I'm going to say for this 30 plus points for the rest of the series, I'm going to say under or proper reaction. Those are my choices right here. I think it's funny you should mention this. This is a FanDuel Sportsbook special. You could get SGA to score 30 plus in every game at plus 220. He already game 1 and 2 are in the books, obviously 34 and 38, I think. He has 30 plus in 13 playoff games so far. So he's not your typical, only if he's hot from 3 superstar, which I like about him, betting his points over. So they seem to come easy. He splits defenders like I've never seen before, really, to get off great shots. Does it on the road, too. He had a 40-point game in Minnesota, 38 in Memphis. So still gets to the line no matter where he is 10 times a game. I think this is a good bet, under reaction.
Yeah, I like it, too. And we could call him FGA because he gets the shots up, and that is half the battle there. Let's talk about some more.
Did you make that up? I need to know. Did you make that up?
I just made that up right now as I'm
Did you really?
here.
Honestly?
Yeah, I swear.
Like if I go on and then look for FGA equals SGA. That's pretty great.
Thank you. Yeah,
That's really good. You're getting a raise, my friend.
Yeah,
not from the Ringer or anything like that, but you're going to get a raise.
Discovery or Max or whoever for our previous conversation, of
That's
course.
Right.
Let's keep it in the final, Sal. I say to you, the NBA CGIing the Larry O'Brien trophy on the court was the worst thing projected on a basketball court since Tracy Morgan's vomit during that Knicks game. Over or under reaction, Sal?
Bravo. This is in your head? This is what you think about?
Yeah.
I like this. I'm going to say under reaction. Was that not the greatest? Adam Silver's response to the uproar of that the court looked like crap in game 1 wasn't special at all. And so he adds these tiny phallic trophies in CGI, and then they disappear. Then the next commercial break, they become the NBA logo. So I don't know who this is an FU to. Probably me and you, but nice job, graphics department. They really have Doris Burke working overtime over there.
I do think that they did the lowest bar, which is the funniest part of all this. This is actually worse than having the trophies on the court. And guys, the reason why they removed him apparently is for slippage on the court. Players were slipping on the court. I'd rather watch them slip on the court than to watch these projected trophies that, like you said, Sal, they cut to the crowd. The trophies are now on the faces of the crowd because they forgot to pull the digital projection out before. It's a mess.
Okay, how about this? How about make the trophies out of the same material you make the 3-point line or the top, the key, the whatever, so the circle there, everything that everyone else isn't slipping on. Make it out of the same stuff, and you won't have the slippage problem.
Yeah, you're too smart. You got this whole thing figured out. Let's talk about the NHL. Fighting in the Stanley Cup final makes blowouts watchable, Sal. Over or under reaction, do you buy that?
No question. This is an underreaction. Game 3 saw 140 penalty minutes, right? The tempers flew out of control right when the game did, right? So when it became 4-1, 5-1, we saw the fights tally, the penalty minutes get up there. And by the way, this wasn't the B team goons. McDavid and Draisaitl were still out on the ice when the fisticuffs were taking place towards the end. And then to top it off, the fans throw rats on the ice. I don't know if you saw this, Tate. They throw rats on the ice towards the end of the game in Florida. So playoff hockey, I think, is pretty much bulletproof in terms of excitement. And this series is especially eye-opening.
Yeah, and it shows that you can find ways to entertain people, and it isn't always about the game itself, and the NHL is making that happen in the final, not the finals. Obviously, there's some confusion there. Let's talk about...
We should, before we go on, we should just start fighting, you and I, if we sense that the show is getting boring. Okay. Like Regis and Kathy Lee, I think, did it for years. That's why they
I think that's a very Andy Kaufman thing, right? He used to fight people, and I just saw John Mulaney fought a bunch of teenagers, so it does feel like, like a go-to in your bag if he needed to fight somebody. So I think that's good. Speaking of a fight, a great fight in Roland Garros this weekend. Alcaraz versus Sinner Sal was the greatest Grand Slam finals match of all time. Over or under reaction, 5 hours and 29 minutes.
I get the sentiment, but I'm going to go overreaction slightly. And I love this match as much as someone who had money on Jannik Sinner, the guy who should have won the match like 5 times, possibly could have. And anytime the finals goes 5:29 or 5.5 hours, you know, it's run at a time where most of the world can watch. It's going to be a top 10 or top 5 or top 1. But for me, number 1 is still Federer, Nadal, Wimbledon, 08, 5 sets. And the last tiebreaker went 9-7. Which is different from 10-2. This one ended 10-2, so there was a little bit, overhyped in terms of how it ended. So I think that's a distinction. I lost money on both, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, Alcaraz, though, we called it on this show, or at least I did a couple weeks ago. So if you got him at plus 125, Sal, that could be nice. I also learned this. You pronounce it in Spain, Alcaraz. So everyone in Spain is saying it's the Alcaraz that is coming right now. So there you go.
I'm learning a lot. Yeah. SGA equals FGA, Alcaraz.
Let's talk golf. I say to you, Sal, Scottie Scheffler being installed as the biggest U.S. Open favorite since Tiger in 09 is warranted. Is that an over or under reaction?
Sure. It's an underreaction. The guy who had more wins than the Rockies in May. By the way, the Rockies took care of that for June. They already have like 5 wins. So Scotty's kind of got to get going if he's going to top that. But plus 280 is really short considering you have Rory, you have Xander, you have Morikawa, you have all the live guys. But this is basically the Will Judge hit a home run prop, right? It shouldn't be plus 280 considering he hits one every 10 at-bats. Scheffler shouldn't be plus 280 considering he wins every 8th tournament, right? So still not bad to have it, though, because more likely than not, he's going to be in the mix Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and to have plus 280 is pretty nice.
Yeah, and back in 2009, Tiger was the reigning champ coming into that U.S. Open. Right. He finished tied for 6th, and the only reason was because he shot 4 over on the first day. Otherwise, he would have been ended up losing by 4.
Do you remember that, or you looked at it? Do you really?
I was locked in back in the Tiger era. So,
he really had everybody. Have you played Oakmont before?
I have not played Oakmont, but
just say yes. It makes the TV show or podcast sound more interesting.
Of course, I've played Oakmont. It's a great course.
There you go. Yeah. What's the most challenging hole on Oakmont for you, at least?
I think it would be number 8, right? It's the par 3 that's 300 yards. You got pro guys bringing out the driver. I mean, guys like we would, be laying up and hitting a full iron in. So, it'd be the par 4.
We have footage of Tate on hole number 8 at Oakmont. I went too far.
Let's roll that footage. Let's have some fun. Let's keep it going. A couple more, Sal. The College Baseball World Series is the most underrated tournament in college sports. Maybe all of sports. Over or under reaction?
I'm going to say underreaction, I think. I love it. And not because I have money on Arkansas plus 370 to win it all. And they're one of the very few top seeds remaining. But you could watch it all on one app, which makes it easy. The fans are nuts. And they get even nuttier when they get to Omaha, which is where it takes place this weekend. Murray State beating Duke the other night. The Murray State Stadium seats 800 people. And the coach mows the lawn of the field. It's the coach's great aunt does the team laundry. But no, I made that up. But look, there's tons of great storylines. And that being one of them, long live the College Baseball World Series.
Yeah, you got Coastal Carolina, another small school going to the College World Series. They won back in 2016. You got John Moran tweeting about the Murray State team going to Omaha. He said he's going to get out there and go to Omaha himself. So very encouraging signs there for college baseball.
We should go one year, Tate. We never go to Omaha. They say it's delightful.
I went back in 2014. It was a great time. So shout out to the College World Series.
Which hole did you find most challenging? No, it's a different question.
I think it was number 8. I can't remember. Okay. Let's call up the Riverboat captain. He's definitely a NASCAR guy, and he's got some prop culture for us. And we're talking NBA, Sal, and the question is simple. What was the NBA's biggest screw up this year? There's been a lot to choose from. We got the odds right here. Fixing the lottery drawing 2-1. We got allowing the Luka trade 5-1. We got not scheduling an NBA Finals game on Father's Day 7-1. We got awarding the Eastern Conference Finals MVP trophy to someone other than Timothy Chalamet 25-1. And we got the field at even odds. What say you, Sal? What was the biggest blunder by the NBA?
Wow. Well, we say blunder as if they screwed up, but these are all intentional, right? Every single one of these was done purposely. You know what? I usually like to go off the board and go with some cutesy tidbit, but I'm going to say not scheduling a finals game this Sunday Father's Day. It's really, I know women watch too, and God bless, but this is the holiday where all fellas are together celebrating with their fathers and grandfathers. And then they say, all right, you know what? You're on your own. We're going to roll game 5 on Monday. I mean, what are we, Tate, as fathers, pretend you're a father, supposed to do on Sunday? Like, right. I can't get any relief from my father's hour-long story about how he's trying to scam his auto insurance provider. And my kids can't get any relief from me belly aching about losing World Cup qualifying parlays.
Right. Yannick Sinner.
Thanks again. Yeah, Yannick Sinner. Thanks for nothing, Adam Silver.
I think I'm right there with you, Sal, and I think the odds are too good to pass up. 7-1. A lot of times, father-son relationships, you need something to kind of bring you together, something to drum up the conversation. Guys don't get into a room and start immediately gabbing with each other, so you need something to break the ice, something to get things rolling for you. What better than rolling the balls out, the NBA Finals? We're all talking about how much we hate these players and hate these teams, and we all come together, and we're all better fathers for it and sons for it.
What better time to roll the balls out than on Father's Day is what Tate's saying. I know what you're saying. Yeah, filthy.
It's the best time. Come on, 7-1 odds. You got to take them. And speaking of odds, I turn it over to you, Sal. You're going to set some lines for us.
All right, I am going to do that. And these you cannot find on FanDuel Sportsbook, so don't even look. But I was wondering what you thought about over/under 14.5 exclamation points used in Magic Johnson's remaining NBA Finals related tweets. Let me give you a little background here. I went back because I'm a maniac. He has 7 exclamation points used through 2 games. 4 of them came after the Halliburton Game 1 winner. So I think 14.5 is a fair number for the rest of the series. What do you think?
I think it's a great line. I'm going to take the over. I do enjoy Magic's tweets. I think that they're fun. I think they're funny. I think it feels like something we're all kind of in on, except for Magic. So that is also fun in and of itself, especially when you think about Magic and how talented and how great he was at the game of basketball. So the over, I don't think we're going to get a 4 exclamation moment. I don't know how you can beat that moment that we saw in game 1. So I don't suspect that to happen, but I do suspect 6 or 7 games. There's enough time for the exclamation point. So I'm going to go over here, Sal.
I see. Long series yields more exclamation points. All right. I do love it. Tweets. I mean, it drives me crazy that he behaves like a sports reporter from the 1940s as if we have no access.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have, there's a billion spots we can find the box score where he's telling us exactly. He might as well give us the 5-day forecast in Des Moines, but don't ever change Magic. I love it. All right. Over under 7.5 teams, NBA teams that Giannis will be linked to this summer before ultimately deciding to remain with the Bucks. I feel like just from our boss, Bill Simmons, it'll be 5 or 6. But if FanDuel put actual odds in it, I would say 7.5. What do you say?
I'm going to say under. I have tried to put together what we have so far. So obviously we have the New York Knicks. They're in the mix. Okay. They're even trying to put together a package with Jason Kidd getting traded there, right? Allegedly. We got Toronto. Right. They've been thrown out as a team in the mix. We got San Antonio. They've been thrown out into the mix. We got Houston. They've been thrown into the mix. We've got Golden State, who's been thrown to the mix. So that's 5 teams right there. The Miami Heat, I guess, is a sneaky team you could throw in there as the 6th team. Maybe the 7th team is the Chicago Bulls, if there's something there where the Bulls maybe want to make a play and they have the market in Chicago. But that still only gets me to 7 teams, Sal. All of them, like you said, will not end up with Giannis Antetokounmpo, but they will put out the report that they are willing to put the trade together. So I can get to 7. I can't get past 7, so I'll go the under.
I thought the Lakers, because they're always the little Lakers, someone will always whatever. Go. And the Spurs, I thought, right, they're always on the tip of everyone's tongue. But there's always also the other one where they track where he's flying over the summer. So he could have a stopover in Salt Lake City, and then people are like, right there beside Cooper Flag, that's going to work out. It's like, no, he's going to Hawaii. He's just delayed like 4 hours. That's all. So
he just go on trips. Yeah,
exactly. I think he stays in Milwaukee.
Me too.
Cops frozen custard. He's no dummy. Over under 2.5 coffee mugs that I will receive on Father's Day. I'll give you some context. I have 3 boys. I get a gift from my wife and my mother and maybe my father. I don't know. I don't remember. So that's 6 gifts. In the past, I've had these coffee mugs. Hello, is it tea you're looking for? Farter of the year. They think it's funny. Some weird sperm mug. The Costco guys, I think I got last year. Nice. My family loves buying me coffee mugs. What do you think? 2.5 over under?
I got to go over. I mean, you said you're getting 6 gifts. I think 50% is a good number. You know what I mean? Okay. So if we get 3 out of 6 turn into coffee mugs, I think maybe there could be a situation where, it's the 3 Stooges in the face of one Stooge on every mug, and it's like a gift, and they all get in together, and they give you each one. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's the big 3, LeBron, Braun, D-Wade, and Bosch, and they have the 3 different. I don't know. I'm just saying there's going to be some, maybe Alvin and the Chipmunks. I don't know. There's going to be some sort of trifecta put together, and they're going to be all mugs, and I'm going to go
Could
over
be the
here.
Trifecta.
It could be the trifecta. Yeah, that'd be great.
Interesting.
Maybe that'll be my gift for you. There you go.
If I stop drinking coffee, these lunatics would have no idea what to do. So I have to pretend I'm
At least they know
like
one thing about you. I think that's my dad used to say that all the time. I don't know if they know anything about me, so at least they know you like coffee.
That's sad, Tate. Go home this weekend. Come on.
I'll do some flying out. We'll see what happens. I hope everybody has a happy Father's Day. I hope everybody can enjoy it. We would enjoy it more if we could watch the NBA Finals together. But again, that's a conversation we already had.
Monday.
Yeah, stay right there. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to do some line look ahead, some track to the futures, and have some more fun with Cousin Sal. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Thru the Ringer. I'm here with Cousin Sal, and we got some more stuff to hit here, Sal. There's a lot happening. We got the, obviously the NBA Finals. We got the NHL Final. We got, obviously, the U.S. Open and golf this weekend. A lot to get to. Let's start here. Line look ahead. NBA Finals pick for Game 3. There has been a lot of discourse, a lot of conversation. Some people are even saying this series is over, Sal. What do you like and what do you see in Game 3?
All right. Well, it's not over because you have this game and then you have the game on Father's Day. Oh, no, that's not on Father's Day. But anyway, all right. Well, I don't know. It looks like the books seem to think it's over a little. This opened at 4. Now OKC is 5.5 for the Wednesday night game. And I know they're 0-7 against the spread on the road in these playoffs. And I know that place is going to be wild tonight. Super fans in Indiana, Terry Crews and Jesse Eisenberg are going to be out of their minds. But we've seen this game twice. Pat McAfee. We've seen it twice. And OKC was leading by double digits for 85% of those 2 games, right? So they lost game 1 because of an insane comeback, which I can never rule out for game 3, and because they were beat up on the boards. But Dagnall adjusted, right? Hartenstein and Holmgren were together on the floor, not as many mismatches down low. And like we pointed out, SGA going to get his 30 no matter what. I wish they guarded the corner 3 better, Tate, but I'm going to still take OKC to roll 120 to 103, lay the 5.5.
Yeah, I like the call there. OKC definitely looks like the better team, like you said, if you've been watching the entire series. But again, the Pacers just have some sort of weird magic going on. And I do think that Rick Carlisle is playing chess while checkers is happening in front of him. Him pulling his starters with about 4.5 minutes to go in that game 2. They didn't really even go after that game 2. It kind of felt like they were playing coy. They were playing possum. I do think the Pacers have a few more things up their sleeve. I think they were saving it for when they get back in that building. I think tempo, pace, possessions will be the primary thing, and I think the Pacers shock us all again. I don't know if they win more than one more game in this series, Sal, but I think they win game 3. So I'm going to take Pacers money line. I wish there was more value here because obviously you're taking a big swing, but again, Pacers money line plus 180. I'm buying into the Rick Carlisle thing. You know what I mean?
Why don't you're buying in? Let's bet $25,000 against each other. What do you think of that? Let's do that.
I can do it in crypto. I'll go.
Fine.
I'll go round some of that up.
Checkers versus chess.
There you go. Let's go play some checkers and chess. NBA Finals Game 3 props that you like, Sal. Line look ahead. What are you looking for in this game?
Well, I'm kind of betting against myself here if I have OKC, but I'm going to go Alex Caruso under 8.5 points. You get a plus number here, 116. I think they can win and cover and not get such a monster game out of Caruso. Again, it could happen, Tate. Trust me. He had 20 in game 2 on 11 shots. I think that's an outlier. He usually averages between 4 and 6 shots a game, and this is slightly inflated because of that game 2 performance. He's a 7-point guy, averages 7-ish on the road in the playoffs. I think it's slightly high, and I'm going under at plus money.
I think that's a good call, and it's nice you can get plus money. I'm going to go Mathurin, another bench guy for the Pacers. I'm going to take 10-plus points in this one. You can get that at plus 112. Guys at home tend to play better. Mathurin is one of those guys that, the Pacers' high IQ team, Mathurin kind of comes in and does the ISO scoring at the end of possessions when you really don't have anywhere to go. I think he's going to fancy his opportunity at home in the finals. He's playing for a contract. I like that sort of, kind of push behind his, presence presence of mind to go and get some points for this team. And I do think that Mathurin over 10 points in this game. I like the number plus 112. And I'm sure Pacers fans would be happy to see Ben Mathurin get some points on the board. So there you have it. NBA Finals Game 3. We got the props, we got the plays, and also the points in this game, 228.5. So if you like the Pacers, you might want to take the over. If you like the Thunder, you might want to take the under. Let's do the Stanley Cup Final as well here, Sal. Game 4. Who do you like in this one, and what should we be looking for?
Well, it was not a great game 3. If you like fighting, if you like the fisticuffs, it was 6-1 the final. Now Florida leads 2-1. And I'm going to go Florida over 3.5 goals here. I think Edmonton feels like they could bully Florida in that loss. I'm not sure that's the right tactic. Sam Bennett, in addition to being now the favorite to win the Conn Smythe Award, is a tough customer, as is AJ Greer. And I think more importantly, they solved the Stuart Skinner riddle at the goaltender for Edmonton. 11 goals in the last 2 games for Florida. They're feeling it, especially in their building. Maybe an empty netter to push this to a 4-2 final. Give me Florida over 3.5 goals.
There you go. You can get that at plus 112. I'm going to just go, we're just trying to play both sides here. I'm going to take the Oilers in this game, plus 125. I just think that McDavid and Edmonton bounce back in this game 4. Like you said, a lot of fisticuffs, a lot of energy, a lot of fighting, a lot of moxie. And I think Edmonton comes out in this game and evens up the series. So we can get that at plus 125. Now let's do another fun line look ahead here, Sal. We got the 2025 U.S. Open. A lot of eyeballs on Oakmont. Oakmont, a very historical golf course and a lot of history there. Obviously, number 8, my favorite hole that I definitely played in real life.
Yeah.
Sal, what do you like and what are you looking for in the U.S. Open?
They have not mowed the grass on hole number 8 since you played, and Bryson DeChambeau was complaining. That notwithstanding, he is going to be the top live player at plus 190. I'll give out my pick to win it on Against All Odds Wednesday night. That'll be my final say. But Bryson won in 2024, obviously different course, Oakmont. But I think as far as the live guys, it's him and it's Rahm who could be taken seriously. Koepka, Hatton, Neiman, I'm not interested. Bryson also won in 2020. I like him over the rest of the field and live field at plus 190, and perhaps to repeat here. Who knows?
Yeah, and Bryson has the, kind of rivalry relationship, whatever you want to call it, with Brooks Koepka. Koepka won back-to-back U.S. Opens. This is a chance maybe for Bryson to win back-to-back U.S. Opens. He changed irons before this week. Apparently, it's helping his approach shots. He lost 5 strokes on approach shots at the Masters against Scotty, so maybe he makes up that ground. So I like the call with Bryson. I'm going to go with Xander Schauffele to miss the cut. Now, I know Xander Schauffele's 8 for 8. He's a top 25 guy. I think there's only one time in his U.S. Open career he has not been in the top 25. He has really struggled putting this year. He's really struggled hitting the fairway so far this season. He's like 127th on the tour right now hitting the fairway. You can't play that way at Oakmont. I think it's going to cause him some issues. The rough is going to be a major problem. So just taking a swing here that maybe this goes sideways for Schauffele. So plus 235. 2 swings that I really like going into this week. Cameron Young, he should have maybe been in the playoff last week. Hit a great 3-wood that went long on the last hole. He's had to battle his way into this tournament, so I like him plus 12,000. And then Colin Morikawa, he's top 2 driving accuracy on the tour right now. And again, hitting the fairway is a premium here, so you can get Morikawa. That's another guy that I like. So those 2 guys, Cameron Young, Morikawa.
Tate Frazier.
Yeah, I'm locked in.
You play Oakmont once, and all of a sudden you're the expert beyond all experts.
I'm locked in. Now, again, not an expert, just giving some thoughts here. Let's do another line look ahead. MLB play of the day for Wednesday. What do you like, Sal?
Let's do it. Brewers over the Braves, plus 118. I don't want to write the Braves off, although it would be great to write the Braves off as a Met fan. They currently around 10 under 500. Solid pitching, but 11th in runs scored. I know they put up 7 on Monday, but you have to score runs to win, Tate, and they haven't been doing it that much. The Brewers are making their move. They won 7 out of that last 10. They're in contention for a wild card spot. Chad Patrick on the bump, under a 3 ERA. He allowed 2 or fewer in 5 of his last 6 starts. So let's take the Brewers at plus money over the Braves.
I like it. I will not make a pitch to you for a pick, but I will give you a catch to watch, Sal. In case you missed it, there won't be a better catch this season. Denzel Clark's catch on Monday. This is ridiculous. This guy, if you're watching this right now, defies gravity and makes a ridiculous catch. There's a lot of people that want to watch the Savannah Bananas. There's no time for that when you can watch plays like this. So shout out to the A's. Shout out to Denzel Clark. Yeah, I mean.
Phenomenal. But in Sacramento, a team that everyone's kind of forgotten about, but fighting. And how do you practice for something like this, Tate? Is this guy like climbing walls? Like,
I don't know.
While guys are taking BP? I'm not sure. Like, this is just great. He should have, I tweeted that he should have just walked away from the game because it doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, he actually can fly. So that was fascinating to see. Another guy who probably thinks he can fly. Last one, track to the future here, Sal. Aaron Rodgers, passing yards. The line is 3,200.5 yards for the season. Do you like the under? Do you like the over? What's the play here for Steelers, Aaron Rodgers?
Steelers, yes. Congratulations on the nuptials. I'm sure that's completely above board there. Look, I'm going to go under. This has nothing to do with the fact that I can't stand the guy, although if I could stomach him, I probably would look for reasons to go over. So I get that it's tainted a little. That said, and I know he ended up with almost 3,900 yards last year in what was considered a subpar season. But 2021 was the last time a Steelers quarterback threw for over 3,200 yards. Rudolph, Trubisky, Pickett, Wilson, Fields, none even came close, really. I know a few of those split the season. So to bet on a 41-year-old will turn 42 in December to not make it 17 games is a pretty good bet. And the history of the Steelers quarterbacks falling short of this number. Aaron does his own research. So did I. I'm going under.
Yeah, I like your research. I'm in agreement. I think that this is really a bet against his ability to kind of stay on the field. So I'm going to take the under as well. That is the concern there, that he can play all 17 games. Because, again, this is a 41-year-old who's coming off, a season where he was coming off an Achilles injury. So we'll see what happens. But Aaron Rodgers, we appreciate the content as always. Sal, we appreciate you. Where can we find all your content? Then we'll let you go enjoy the rest of your day.
Against All Odds, a couple times a week here on the Ringer Podcast Network, and then Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend Friday morning on the Ringer and on FanDuel TV right here. Jamie Lynn Sigler and Robert Eiler from The Sopranos. They'll be on. Plus, we'll have NBA Finals picks from the D3.
Look at that. Great stuff as always, Sal. You're the best. We appreciate you coming on the show. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got the Ringer's very own Bryan Curtis joining us to break down all the mini feuds in the media and more. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Thru the Ringer. As promised before the break, joining us now, the Press Box's very own and a friend of the program here on Thru the Ringer. You know him very well, Bryan Curtis. Welcome back to the show, man. Good to see you.
Friend of the program. That just sounds nice, Tate.
It always hits. It always hits. And speaking of things that always hits, media feuds. We always love media feuds. I was talking to you about this. It does feel like the media, the journalistic capital J world, even though the horse journalism is winning, we do have some waters that we are wading in with a lot of media feuds. One in our backyard, we got the Bill Simmons, Pablo Torre beef that has been squashed. I kept my head in the sand like an ostrich on this one, Bryan Curtis, but you obviously are in the minutia of this. What is it like to witness these media beefs? And for you on the Press Box, what is it like to cover these media beefs, especially when you got a guy like BS involved?
It's very funny because I feel like I'm discovering a new sports media beef every day.
Me too.
Like I'll look at Kendrick Perkins' Twitter feed and I'm like, Kendrick Perkins is mad at Turner Sports? Mm-hmm. And where did that come from? I feel like I missed like 40 tweets to get to the origins of it. And I'm just completely confused. I think part of this is podcast world. Like we're not just, NBC or ESPN. We're the Tate Frazier show and the Bryan Curtis show.
Right.
So it becomes a little more personal. There's also very few guardrails on a podcast. So you can just kind of go. And I think everybody knows, look, it's a very old thing that like a great way to get attention in any walk of life is to pick a fight with somebody. So you pick a fight and then, people like me talk about it.
Mm-hmm. And I do my best to avoid it again with, the friends are fighting, people are yelling in your house. You're hoping it doesn't happen. But again, this was a happy ending. Bill and Pablo, they go on the podcast. And like you said, this is the world that we live in now. Everybody has to go out there, get in the discourse. And again, it's your name. It's your show. You're the forward facing person. You got to go back and forth and have these things happen. Let's talk about some forward facing things in the NBA Finals. There is a lot of discourse that is happening and surrounding this, Bryan Curtis. Obviously, the trophies and the signage and these types of things with the NBA Finals seems to be a hot button issue. We did have the digitally placed trophies on the court during Game 2 of the Finals, which felt very reactionary. What is happening here? And is this ESPN? Is this the NBA? Like, who are the parties in charge, and why does this feel just so kind of convoluted? Is probably the best word for it.
Yeah, ideally you don't want to have a trophy on the court that looks like it was made in MS Paint by me, someone who knows nothing about graphics or computers.
Shoemaker could have done better. Yeah.
Shoemaker would have done way better. I mean, in 5 minutes with that.
Right.
I think the bigger story here, Tate, is just about the presentation of the NBA Finals on ESPN and making this feel like a big game. And I think there's a lot of angst out there. Wait a second, we're watching this and this feels like, League Pass on Thursday night in February. This doesn't feel big. And it's not just the trophies on the court. It's no national anthem. It's no starting lineups being announced. To me, that's the big thing about selling the NBA. And I think we'll get some interesting kind of readback on that when NBC comes in this fall and Amazon too, because they're going to have different ideas about this. But even for people like me, I consider myself a very good sports fan. If Aaron Nesmith had come to my house on May 1st and said, "Hello, I'm a basketball player. Who am I?" I would have been like, give me a minute. Like, you've got to introduce these players to fans, especially fans who are coming in masse in the postseason.
And it's a storytelling issue, right? I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. Brian Windhorst went on your show and kind of broke that down. Again, these are players who have great stories. We just don't have the space to tell these stories. And again, when we have the space to talk about the product that is in front of us, like the halftime show, for example, I want to get your thoughts on this. It felt like a screaming match. It's like if you just listen to that without the visual, right? You just hear one person yelling, another person responding to that person's yelling, another person trying to jump in to make sure we get back on to topic. And again, it feels very discombobulated. And the halftime experience, yes, it works with Inside the NBA in its own way, but how do we get back to like, here's what just happened on the court. Let's dive into that, because now it feels like everything is a narrative, legacy-driven conversation, even after a first half.
I'd say two things. One is just talk about the game. You see this when ESPN does women's basketball coverage, especially with college hoops. It's all about the game with Andrea and Shanae. They're talking about and they're getting fired up about basketball on the court, and it makes me as a viewer fired up to watch the second half, to watch the rest of the game. That's part of it. And then the other part of it to me is not only do we not need to include legacy conversations while the finals are going on, but the whole thing of what's going to happen to Giannis next year. What are the Knicks going to do to get better? Like, those are great conversations to have. We will certainly have those on the ringer.com. But to me, if you can't sell the finals during the finals, which you paid to televise, you are doing something very, very wrong.
Yeah, it does feel like the finals is almost an appetizer to the trades that will happen around draft night and free agency that we will see in the summertime, which kind of goes back to the NBA coverage. The Super Bowl almost feels like free agency, and it has since 2010 when LeBron James, went to that Boys and Girls Club and said he was going to take his talents down to South Beach. It does feel like ever since then, the past 15 years, we've lived in the trades, the movement, the things like this, what drums up the conversation. I just look at the IST, the in-season tournament, and the product and the way that they presented that as opposed to the finals. I mean, it's honestly shocking to me, Brian, that the in-season tournament had better promotion, had better storytelling, had better signage, had better everything than the actual NBA finals. Did this feel like maybe it was a foregone, like, of course the finals will be good, but we almost dropped the ball here, and it's the most important ball of all.
It is. And again, just want to stress, this is all a choice. You don't have to cover what the Knicks are going to do in the offseason. You don't have to cover the Giannis trade right now. Or, you can give it a small place in the show somewhere or somewhere on your air. But if you can't do this, you are just saying we can't sell the basketball that we paid for. I mean, just think about that. Like, we cannot do it. We're not talented enough. We don't have enough ideas to get you hyped up to watch a basketball game that we pay billions of dollars for. And again, I just cannot think of any worse indictment of a television network or the personalities involved.
And now the personalities and all the people involved, right? The finger pointing happens. We start getting the reports of stories of like this person may be out next year, and it's happening in the middle of the NBA finals. Doesn't this all just kind of feel strange? We also have the inside crew coming to ESPN, but they're also coming to ESPN with this kind of antagonistic angle where they're just like, if you change our show, we're going to have some problems with you, and so will the rest of these people. Like, what is that? It just feels like the whole ESPN ecosystem right now is very off center, even though they have the rights to obviously a very very valuable property.
Well, the NWO did debut on TNT. I'm pretty sure. So, then now coming from TNT to ESPN, there is a little bit of a, we're taking over here. This is our place now. I mean, look, to me, that's always been part of their brand, even when they were on Turner. So I would expect that to go to 11 by the time they get to ESPN. I agree, though. This has just been very, very weird. And, as somebody sitting there, I actually think the ESPN #1 crew has been pretty good during the finals. I think this is the best basketball they've done all year, partly because they just haven't had that many reps. But when you come in with that story about Doris Berg before even game one, so people like me are sitting there scrutinizing, wait a second, is she getting enough touches? Is this crew getting along? What's happening here? Just what a terrible way to come in again to the NBA finals, where even me, somebody like me, I want to watch basketball. I want to watch the greatest basketball players in the world. This is fun to me. And that just feels like such a weird sideshow.
Yeah, and we also have a situation where we're worried about the guys who aren't playing basketball because they are sort of the stars of the game, whether it is a Giannis Antetokounmpo, whether it is Nikola Jokic, and we're watching him play whatever footy game he's playing in whatever Balkan country he's in, or whether it's LeBron in Maui, whether it's Steph Curry, listening to Benson Boone at a random festival at Bottle Rock, right? I mean, we know where all these guys are and we're keeping up with them. But again, the basketball is happening. We have two stars right in front of us, SGA, Tyrese Halliburton. How do we get to to put it into wrestling terms, how do we get to a point where we care about this face and this heel? Is this going to be a series where we figure out who is the face and who is the heel? How do we kind of spin that weave where people want to care about these two guys in particular?
And we're talking about two guys who've done everything they could possibly do to make us care about them during this postseason. How many more shots does Tyrese Halliburton need to hit? And again, the whole legacy conversation, I'm not one of these high-minded press critics who's like, let's never talk about this, because that stuff matters, right? Rings matter. Coming up big in the postseason matters. I just think when you're like, okay, Tyrese Halliburton hit the game-winning shot in game one and then was pretty much absent for 3/4 of game two, look, what are we doing here, right? How many times can we have this conversation? I understand the incentives, right? It's more fun to do that than it is to just be like, okay, let's punt and see where we are after 6-7 games or whenever this thing ends. But again, I would just think of there's a way to talk about how good these guys are at basketball, to break down their games. And also, by the way, their weaknesses, because they're not without weaknesses. And really just, again, to me, one of the great ways is to tell me what's going on in the game, tell me things I don't know, and get me fired up to watch more basketball. That's what a television network's trying to do.
Yeah, and stay in the present. It does feel like everything is either in the past or in the future. There are no conversations that are present tense. Everything is, this is going to be an all-time run, or this reminds me of this past. You know what I mean? There is no present tense conversation. Speaking of the present and potentially the future, Noah Eagle, you had him on the press box, had some conversations about NBC getting the product there with the NBA and kind of what that will look like. Obviously, Noah grew up around the same time that I did, so the NBA on NBC was the best of times, and obviously that relationship with Michael Jordan is very special. He's going to be a quote-unquote special contributor. He's apparently getting $40 million. What does that look like when, the first promo was great for NBA on NBC, and how does Noah kind of, paint the picture of what their version of the NBA looks like on NBC?
So I think the exciting thing for NBC is they get to start from scratch. But it's only kind of starting from scratch, because what I think the guiding light to their coverage this fall is going to be is not the old NBA on NBC that you and I grew up for with Bob Costas and Marv Albert, as awesome as that was. I think it's going to be Sunday Night Football of the present. When you think of Sunday Night Football, what do you think? Great announcing, great graphics, very much in the moment. Tons of storytelling, going back to having those players introduce themselves in their alma mater, the Ohio State University, right before every game. And NBC's already come out and said, hey, we're going to show those pregame introductions on the court before our games, because part of what we do want to do is introduce you to the players you might not know down the roster. And so to me, one thing that's cool about this is not only do you put pressure on people like ESPN, who've had the NBA rights for 20 years now, but you also say, look, let's just rethink everything. Should we have interviews at the beginning of the second quarter and at the beginning of the fourth quarter? Is that necessary for our broadcast? Should we have two people in the booth, Mike Tirico and Reggie Miller, or should Jamal Crawford be the third one in that booth too? You can just rethink everything from the beginning, and that's, to me, very, very fun and very, very cool.
And that's kind of NBC's calling card a little bit in sports commentary. They always have kind of been on the forefront. There is a certain ilk to what they do, and that's something they're going to lean on again, obviously. And then you have the Peacock arm, the streaming arm. So you talk about being in the future, being in the modern game, and it is a very fascinating thing. I want to talk about, obviously, the property that is the Inside the NBA. They're moving over to ESPN. Obviously, I mentioned some of the antagonistic angling that has started there and the poking and the prodding, but with that group, with Ernie going over there, does it work? Does it make sense? Is there this weird kind of Turner, I'm talking about my old girlfriend while I'm with my new girlfriend motto thing? Like, what's happening there, and what does that look like?
All of the above, but
okay, good.
Again, it's the best possible scenario for ESPN. We got the best show. We got the Joe and Troy pregame shows to come in and do this thing for us. So to me, like, there'll be some weirdness to it. We always talk about how Pat McAfee, that is, feels a little bit weird on ESPN because he's producing his own show. It feels like on ESPN, but not necessarily of ESPN.
Right.
I think Inside's going to feel exactly the same way. And again, that might be for the better because look, ESPN's had a lot of cracks at this. They haven't gotten it right, and these are the guys. And also, Charles Barkley's already threatening to retire in 2 years, so. Again, that made me feel good. That's like the first Robin of spring. Charles Barkley threatens his retirement one more time.
It honestly keeps like a sense of normalcy as the world is in chaos. There is something nice about Charles Barkley putting out that he will retire in about 2 years. That is something that we can all relate to and something we've heard before. It kind of gets us back to normal. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got more to talk about with Bryan Curtis. We'll even talk some college sports right after the break. Welcome back to Thru the Ringer. We're here with Bryan Curtis, and we are making sense of all the biggest stories in sports as best we can. Again, if you want to go listen to a great podcast, go check out The Press Box. Bryan Curtis and Kyle Crichton, by the way, producing that. Wanted to give a shout out there. I love that. Love to see the #1 Press Box fan joining the show. And there's obviously going to be a lot of headlines about this guy, Bryan. You've talked about him a lot. Aaron Rodgers, he is a man who knows how to work in these media waters. He is officially signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It has been a bit of a muted response from the people. Obviously, there was a lot of people that thought that this was going to happen. He waited before he signed, apparently because of his own travel schedule. There's a lot to dive into, but just the headline, Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers, does it make sense? Is this a marriage that actually works? And just the headlines ahead, what are we forecasting for this situation, Bryan?
In football terms, it's hard for me to believe he is as bad as he was with the Jets. It's just really hard to believe. Then again, maybe he had his, final great seasons, his age-defying seasons with the Packers when he was winning multiple MVPs in his 30s. I do think you bring up an interesting point, which is the Aaron Rodgers attention economy. Does it feel like it's fading a little bit?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, are we sure it's going to fade on a Tuesday when he's on with McAfee in the fall, lighting up his teammates or, making some passive-aggressive comment about something or other? Like, maybe it comes back a little bit, but man, you're right. It's kind of a collective shrug. It's kind of a collective yawn. He revealed in his first day with the Steelers that he's married now. He's wearing a wedding ring, and you're just everybody's kind of like, whoa, what? Which just felt like a classic Aaron Rodgers makes news moment, but just people don't feel as dialed in as they once did.
Yeah, it does feel like everyone has gotten behind the curtain and they have figured out that Aaron Rodgers is not the Wizard of Oz. And I think that is also a very fascinating thing to observe and witness in real time. And it also is funny to me, Bryan, that all of his coaches have kind of come from the Steelers. If you think about McCarthy, Dom Capers, right? Like, this is so everyone tried to figure out, where he was going to go, where he was going to end up. The ideology of Aaron Rodgers, the football player, is very Pittsburgh, right? Like, those are the guys who coached him. Those are the guys that he's been around. So to me, it makes sense from a fabric of he has a respect for this institution. He likes what Pittsburgh kind of represents, the grittiness of Pittsburgh. So I do think there is a chance where this could work out. And if you look at the team itself, this is kind of a last chance, run with all these guys. DK Metcalf, Aaron Rodgers, they're just kind of throwing everything at the wall to see if Tomlin can go for one more run. But like you mentioned, do we care? Like, do we care about the investment to get behind the whole engine to be like, wow, is this one last dance for Aaron Rodgers? It does feel like that's how he is viewing it. That's how he's promoting it to the media. But it doesn't feel like we're eating it up like we did when he went to New York.
No. And again, when he did that, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the game. And again, coming off a couple of MVPs, late career MVPs in Green Bay. And that's one of the interesting points here too. Like how much of that power to transfix us comes from being one of the best quarterbacks, and how much of it just comes from being Aaron Rodgers. And this will be a big test of that, because if he's not good, if he's kind of like Jets Aaron Rodgers, I'm not sure that we're going to plug in the same way.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch. Another thing that's fascinating to watch, college sports. Most of the big decisions are obviously happening in courts, which is not basketball courts, but actual courthouses, and people are making big decisions. The House settlement is officially here, and it's officially been approved. So here are the 4 staples that are happening. We got retroactive damages in the amount of $2.8 billion for former student athletes dating back to 2016. We got the opt-in rev share model for current and future athletes, which is about $20.5 million. We got revisions to the NCAA's bylaws governing NIL. So now Deloitte's going to be approving all the deals with NIL, which came back to 2021. And the fourth prong of this whole attack and conceit for the new college sports model, revisions to the NCAA's bylaws on roster sizes and scholarship limits. This is basically pro sports. We do not have a collective bargaining agreement yet, but it looks like we're moving in that direction. We do have a rev share model that teams are opting into. Bryan Curtis, what is going on, and where are we in college sports? How do we get people up to speed? Does this change everything, or does this change a few things? Like, where do we sit right now with the landscape of college sports?
The NIL feels like the big mystery box here, because there's a way where you could say, okay, every team's going to have $20.5 million. There's a kind of salary cap, but is that a hard cap, or does that just mean it's a soft cap, and that the same schools that are outpaying everybody else or players right now are just going to say, hey, we're going to figure out another way to do this? Because we know that's how college sports worked. It worked before payments were legal at all. It worked when you funneled all the money into your facilities. Remember that tape was like, hey, we can't pay you, but we got a barber shop and we got the awesomest weight room ever.
We got brand new Xboxes, everything. Yeah,
in each of your lockers is going to be amazing. Colleges are really good at figuring out ways to funnel money to players, especially rich colleges. So to me, without knowing how the NIL part of it's going to work out, I can't really say that all that much is going to change, other than the very significant fact that you mentioned, which is the colleges are directly playing players. Finally, after a whole lifetime going through this strange charade, these guys are amateurs, blah, 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 blah. We are finally getting direct payment, which we should have been getting all along.
Yeah, and it, again, only dates back to 2016. So unfortunately for guys who played prior to 2016, they are not a part of that retroactive payout that is going to be becoming a part of the settlement. There's also some more cases that are in the courts that the NCAA will be dealing with. So the NCAA, by all intents and purposes, is basically going to be null and void, just sort of a nominal fixture at this point, and there's going to be some sort of future entity body. Obviously, the conferences are sort of taking over that role right now, but there is a lot to figure out. Bryan Curtis, we appreciate you coming on the show. Go check out the press box. Go check out theringer.com. Go check out Bryan Curtis on X. Wherever you go and find your social media, Bryan Curtis is there. He is that guy to get it done. Thank you so much, Bryan, for coming on the show, and we will talk to you very soon, man.
Thanks always, Tate.
All right, there you have it for another edition of Thru the Ringer. Thanks to Cousin Sal, as always, for coming on the show. And thanks to Bryan Curtis from the Press Box. Again, go check out the podcast. It is great. I appreciate both the guys coming on the show, and I appreciate you tuning in to Thru the Ringer, and we will see you next week.